Greetings from South Korea. I am Arirang News AI anchor. Here is the news making headlines today. President Lee Jae-myung has landed in Egypt for the second leg of his Middle East and Africa tour, following his trip to the United Arab Emirates. President Lee is scheduled to hold a summit with Egyptian President Abdel Fattah El-Sisi today, where the two leaders are expected to discuss strengthening bilateral ties across trade, culture, and other key areas. Later in the day, President Lee will address Cairo University to unveil the Korean government's new initiative for deeper engagement with the Middle East. The UN General Assembly's Third Committee has adopted a North Korean human rights resolution for the 21st consecutive year, co-sponsored by South Korea and 60 other countries. The resolution condemning human rights violations by the regime was adopted by consensus on Wednesday local time without a vote, and then was forwarded to the General Assembly plenary session. The resolution condemned the regime for diverting excessive resources to military expenditure in its illegal nuclear weapons and ballistic missile programs instead of welfare. South Korea's foreign ministry said it will cooperate with the international community to ensure that the human rights of North Korean residents can be genuinely improved. All 267 passengers and crew aboard a ferry were safely rescued after the vessel ran aground off Korea's southwestern coast on Wednesday. Everyone on board the Queen Nvidia Q4 was transferred safely to a nearby port using Coast Guard and support vessels. The Coast Guard deployed 17 patrol ships, 4 coastal rescue vessels, a plane, and special rescue personnel as part of the operation. Authorities said Thursday that investigators are now focusing on possible navigation errors. The ferry struck an uninhabited islet called Jok near Jangsan Island at about 8:17 p.m. The ship was traveling from Jeju Island to the port city of Mokpo. Nvidia delivered a strong revenue forecast, easing the growing fears of an AI spending bubble. The company expects about $65 billion in revenue for the fourth quarter, which is above Wall Street's $62 billion estimate, showing demand for its AI chips remains strong. Nvidia shares rose roughly 5% on the news. For the third quarter, revenue reached $57 billion, up 62%, driven largely by sales to data centers. CEO Jensen Huang said demand keeps accelerating as AI adoption spreads across industries. Nvidia remains unable to sell advanced AI chips to China under U.S. export rules. At least 26 people were killed in an attack on Ukraine's western city of Chernobyl after Russia launched a large-scale barrage of drones and missiles across the country on Wednesday. Ukrainian officials say at least 3 children were among the dead, while 100 people were injured as 2 residential buildings in the city were struck in the attack. Authorities placed all of Ukraine under air raid alerts as explosions were reported in Chernobyl and Lviv. The Energy Ministry reported emergency power outages in several regions. President Volodymyr Zelensky, who was in Turkey for talks on ending the war, said Russia used more than 470 drones and 48 missiles in the assault, and called for stronger air defense support from allies. The strike comes as Ukraine warned that Moscow has intensified daily attacks on civilian and energy infrastructure ahead of winter. That is all from me today. Thank you for watching.